I am here with the CEO of Revolt and the one and only Mr. Jason Lee. Who has a new show with Revolt, the Jason Lee Show. He created Hollywood Unlocked, and if you've been following Jason Lee, you have definitely seen him on Love and Hip Hop. What's going on, guys? How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning. What's going on, family? How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Listen, I was super excited just to sit down and have this conversation with you guys today and kind of pick your brains and talk. We're three Black men in media, and I think it's just important for us to have these type of conversations, right? So I don't want to beat a dead horse on how you guys feel about Black media because, Detavio, after you left your last job, I know you said you thought about giving up almost if you couldn't make certain things happen in Black media. And then Jason Lee, for about the last, 2 to 3 years, you've been on the front lines advocating for Black media. But I guess what I want to know today is, how do you guys feel that how far we've come as far as Black media today? Do you guys feel like we've made those strides? What are you guys' mindset on that?
This is me and Jason's first time tag team in interview. So in the beginning, we probably gonna be like, yo, who goes first?
No worries, no worries.
I'll defer to you and then I'll jump in.
Okay, all good. As it relates to the state of Black media, look, I have to acknowledge and admit that over the last 2 years, there has been progress, right? There's definitely been progress. Unfortunately, it took the unfortunate murder of George Floyd for brands to start making commitments. But what we do know about those commitments are there's been no transparency, there's been no accountability, and many of them are not delivering on those promises. And so, my core feeling is, yes, there's been progress, but not enough. There's not going to be enough progress until the amount of capital flowing into Black media matches the size of our dreams. For us, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars. I know that Jason Lee is a strategist and a thinker, and he's got grandiose plans for his business. So until the money and the capital flowing into Black media matches the dreams of the Black creators and the people who are running these businesses, then I will not consider it finished and I will not consider it real progress.
Absolutely.
That was a great answer. In fact, I think it's a layered question and a layered answer too. So I won't even touch the financial piece because Robin, who owns BallerAlert, and I talk about that all the time, and Detavio summed it up extremely well. I think there was a report card that came out that showed a lot of Fortune 500 companies that made commitments and then didn't follow through with them, and that to me just kind of it identifies one of the biggest issues for me is that the culture is not for sale. And a lot of people think that they can co-opt it by making promises and not following through. But there's other layers to that question too that I'll answer. I think, one of the biggest things that I addressed early on, starting at the Breakfast Club and then continuing on all my platforms, was a disparate treatment of journalists on the red carpet and how Black journalists are pulled and given 2 seconds to ask one question of their favorite star that they cover every day, whereas the Hollywood Reporter and others that are looked at as mainstream, which is crazy to me that this whole mainstream Black thing is even a thing, will get all the time in the world. What I've seen now is that some of the Trojan horses creating those problems are people that look like us, similar to criticism of people that look like us at these Fortune 500 companies that don't open up the purses for people like us that are feeding content to communities they're trying to reach every day in a real organic and true way. And I also think that, we're seeing more conversations around making sure that celebrities that look like us stop by Black-owned media first. We are the hot sauce. And, it's when I first got in the game, I was just surprised at how we would talk about people every day, but yet couldn't get to them. And then look at other people who don't talk about them every day, get them first. And I think as we continue to call that out and celebrities continue to rally behind us and the work that Detavio is doing at Revolt and the work that we're doing at Hollywood Unlocked and the work you guys are doing at BallerAlert, people will continue to see that as a priority and not as a plan B.
Absolutely. I'm glad you touched on that whole red carpet thing. I think we need more representation at the Oscars, the Grammys, etc. But I think one thing that I thought about, and you guys are a lot more seasoned and been in media longer than me, but one thing I think about is when I tell someone I work for a certain company, or some people may say, oh, you work for a blog. I'm like, I went to school I have 2 degrees. I went to school for X amount of time. I'm educated. I'm a journalist. I'm not a blogger. So I think having that respect level as well for certain companies, knowing that, we are journalists, we're not bloggers. This is a news outlet. This is not just somewhere where you come where we just blog things. So I think also getting that respect. What do you guys think about that? How do we get people to kind of get that respect for these different outlets where you have actual journalists who work here, who went to school to do this thing? How do we get that respect level?
I just did an interview with Complex. I have to tell you, this is an annoying topic because I think that, you know, there's oftentimes, until you really pay attention and catch it, the credibility of the work that we do is minimized and marginalized, right? They reduce you to a blogger. They've called me a blogger since the Love and Hip Hop days, and I've never written a story. I'm a culture critic. I'm a CEO. I'm a boss. I'm a equal opportunity agitator. I'm a culture disruptor. I'm a lot of different things. I'm a tech entrepreneur, but those things, strategist, as he said. But those are titles that we've earned and that we have to continue to hold people accountable to using. I think I think NBC News wrote a story once and asked me for an interview, and then wrote me as a blogger, and I was surprised at that. But again, it's not the first time that people that don't look like us put us in a box, but we just have to continue to beat our way out of it. I've never finished college. I got a GED in high school, but I also built a $50 million brand. So you have to put some respect on the journey that I've been on. But that's our responsibility to continue to educate and enforce the understanding that people may not have.
Yeah, I love what Jason says when he talks about, like, they're always going to try to minimize us, right? Like, Plato has a quote that says, "Those who tell stories rule society," right? So it is in their best interest to minimize us so that they can keep and maintain power. I think one of the best ways that we as a community can start to flip the way that they see us, that is very much in our control, is just for Black celebrities to give us our respect. A lot of times we are the first people to catch Black celebrities, artists, etc., as they are on their way up. And then as they go and as they continue to ascend, then they no longer want to come speak to a BallerAlert on the red carpet. Then they no longer want to go speak to a Hollywood Unlocked on the red carpet. And so again, so much of this stuff I think is in our control and is about our community just bonding together. And I think that if we use our collective power to put respect on our name, we can change the game. Like, you just imagine if the biggest celeb said, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to Vogue, or I'm not going to talk to X, Y, and Z. I'm only speaking to Revolt and Hollywood Unlocked on this carpet. I'm only giving BallerAlert this exclusive content." Like, that would change the game. And I think we have to start being more strategic as a community.
Well, I'll give you an example. When I went to the vice president's Christmas party, I mean, me and Detavio were at the president's Christmas party. Then a week later, the vice president had one. And when I got there, I just flew back from Dubai, where Rihanna reached out to me about releasing her baby photos because TMZ had tried to steal the photo, or there was a paparazzi that took the photos unauthorized, and she wanted Black media to get it out first. I mean, when I got to the vice president's house, the entire conversation with Black media was, "Oh my God, congratulations on that," because we're all watching each other's work. But more importantly, I was telling Rihanna how powerful that was. And I know she knew what she was doing because she was extremely intentional in doing that. But I want to use that as an example to Detavio's point that literally transformed the conversation around Hollywood Unlocked for a while. And it was a small gesture in her mind, but it was a huge gesture for the movement that we do. And then the other thing I'll say is, when I went to the Grammys, the Grammy red carpet, I was happy to walk in, and the first person that I saw was Laverne Cox with E, and the second was Revolt. And to be able to see Revolt there, I went and grabbed Harvey Mason's hand and I walked him up to the Revolt, and I said, "Next year, Hollywood Unlocked better be right next to Revolt. We need this placement because you look like me, and you asking me if I'm happy. I ain't happy because I'm over here. I need to be over here." But it takes that kind of collaboration and support from our biggest stars and from our biggest culture leaders that are in these organizations that we don't own and operate. And the last thing I'll say too is one thing about Detavio from the beginning, and I am not the easiest person to work with because I have these visions and this passion, and I'm Italian and Black, and it comes out sometimes, but Detavio has been very measured from the beginning about the impact that we can have as a collaboration. And I think that we as Black leaders in media, Black entrepreneurs, Black CEOs or whatever, and even journalists need to learn how to foster collaboration and not be in competition with one another, because when we both win together, we win for the culture. And Detavio has been very clear about that. Before we even did a partnership, he made sure to introduce me in a very deep way with brands like AT&T, McDonald's, Pepsi, brands that I love and that we would want to have a relationship with, that we never had a relationship with. But it wasn't with an expectation of a give back. Make sure if you get something over there, I get 20%. You know what I mean? And so I think that gatekeeping is an issue in the culture too. And I think we're leading by example of how to kind of break those walls down for each other.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Now, before I dive into the amazing things that you guys are doing over at Revolt, how good the Jason Lee show is doing, I want to pick you guys' brain while I have you guys. I want to kind of talk about some challenges that we may have in media just as Black men. I don't think we want to have that conversation. So I'm fresh, new, young, just getting into the business. I'll go ahead and share some of my challenges, and you guys can tell me if you guys have any, if you guys can relate. So not only am I a Black man in media, I'm also a Black gay man in media, right? So I think when I first started working for BallerAlert, I found myself feeling like I need to tell those LGBTQ stories, right? Then I found myself feeling like I need to speak up for women more. Then I remember having a conversation with Jessie Wu on our podcast, and she talked about two topics. One was Black men who date white women and how she felt about that. And I was like, I really want to defend Black men right now, but I don't date women, so I can't even defend them on that. But I was the only male in the conversation, so I felt the pressure like, you need to speak up right now. Then she also talked about Black men not speaking up or not speaking up for like injustices and equality. I was like, okay, I need to speak up for this too. So I kind of have those pressures feeling like I need to have so many different voices. I feel like I've been pulled in different ways. What are some challenges you guys may face as Black men in media?
Detavio?
Yeah, so I'll start with for me, you know, really in this moment in time, like two of the thoughts that come top to mind is this notion is like heavy is the crown and like what it means to be the only one. You know what I mean? Like when you are a Black male CEO at the top, often push. Jason and I are both the face of our brands, right? And so heavy is the pressure to show up and deliver for our people and for our culture. Heavy is the pressure from advertisers and brands who are giving people like Disney and Marvel tens and millions of dollars and then give us hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars and expect the same results. Heavy is the crown where you see your people who are hurting, where you see your creators who have not been nourished and you want to help all of them, right? So anyways, for me, so much of it is just like heavy as the crown and like the pressure that comes with being one of very few. You know, when you think about Black male CEOs in this media business, you know, that are operating, who have been blessed to be able to operate at the scale that we are, and the scale that someone like a Jason Lee is, you know, you could probably count them on two hands, maybe one. And so we all know that when you're the only one, it comes with a lot of pressure. When you Jackie Robinson, it comes with a lot of pressure. And so I think for me, it's just about staying balanced, staying fully focused on the mission and the assignment, and not allowing that pressure and other people's expectations to dictate how I move or nor what I do.
And I'll apply the same answer to storytelling, right? I'll use an example. Well, I'm Black and I'm gay too. One, I try not to lead with my sexuality because I'm not defined by that. And I think that that's really important. I've had that mentality since Love and Hip Hop. And then when I went and I didn't share my sexuality in an open way, and you know, even though they wanted to pull it out, and some of the things that forced me into confrontations was when they were trying to force that side out through means that I know would hurt my community. And then I reacted, right? The way our community reacts when you're called a faggot or when you're, you know, attacked or whatever. I also use my podcast to explore the trans community because people think because I'm gay, I'm supposed to know the trans experience, which I did not. T.S. Madison was instrumental in helping me understand that. And so although I didn't identify with the trans community, I was open to understanding and using my platform to explore it. And that now has led me to making sure that when I have the Jason Lee Show at Revolt, that Laverne Cox is a part of that conversation. You know, and what I love about my show and the partnership is that I don't think about, does this speak to hip hop or does this speak to the gay or does this speak? These are conversations that speak to the culture, that the culture needs to be a part of. Black trans lives matter, Black lives matter. So if I'm talking to Patrice Cullors or I'm talking to Laverne Cox or I'm talking to Young Miami and Caresha, who's coming up next week on the chairman platform. I mean, interviewing the chairman's girlfriend, that was easy. People thought it was hard, but it was easy because she has a hit show over there. I have a hit show over there. We both love the work that we're doing and we know how to entertain. But I just think inclusion is important. And I never second guess who I'm talking to. I really just go with my gut and what speaks to the core of who I am and what I'm trying to project on my platform. And most of the time it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but you know, conversations are still equally important.
Absolutely. And I think so. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I also think I feel, which is a needed pressure to elevate, and Jason mentioned this, but to like lift up and elevate Black women. You know, I do believe that Black women are such an incredible moral compass. I do believe that they are some of the fiercest champions for Black culture. And so while I do not have their lens and while I do not have their gaze, I feel the pressure to make sure that their lens and that their gaze is uplifted and being shared with the world. And then one other thing that I just want to say about Jason, when he talked about he tries not to, he intentionally tries not to lead with his sexuality. That's one of the reasons why I really liked the Jason Lee show. I think a lot of times when people see you moving into spaces where maybe a host or the creative lead comes from the LGBTQ community, they want the story to be about that. And what I loved about Jason is like that, it can be a part of his story. But what I love about Jason is showing all of what he is and wants to have all of the conversations that he wants to have. And I think that that's really important, that we're not locking people in boxes just because we think they come from a certain community.
Absolutely. I think so many people can learn from what you guys just said just now, for sure. Now, speaking of the different, Caresha has her show, Jason Lee has his show, and then we have, Drink Champs. You guys at Revolt, you guys have the formula, man. You guys are doing your thing right now. Congratulations, by the way, to topping all the success you guys are experiencing. Why do you think it was important to have these different voices on these platforms? I think right now, like, this is big for the culture. Why was it important to have these different voices like a Jason Lee, a Caresha, and those guys over at Drink Champs?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. One, I want to talk about this notion of like seeing people that the world would intentionally ignore. So like a lot of what we're trying to do over here is to shine a light on things that what we call mainstream, or that the rest of the world doesn't see as valid or as important. But we know, and Jason said this earlier, like we are the sauce, like we are the juice, we are all of it. And so the opportunity to be able to shine a light on what is historically typically tried to make invisible is very important for us. So I think that's one. I think two, for us, like what we're really trying to also showcase, and I just kind of mentioned it, is that there is no Black community. Oftentimes when you talk to, when I walk into rooms to talk to brands and advertisers, they want to know about Black people as if we are one thing, one singular thing. I've been doing this for 20 years. And so often I felt like the people on the other side of the table felt like Black people were white people with dark skin. And what's important for us is that we are, again, trying to showcase that we are not a Black community, that we are Black communities, that yes, there are threads that cut between us, but there are so many things that are also different. And so to be able to build a portfolio that showcases so many of those different communities is important to us, because again, our ultimate goal is to shift the narrative around Black people globally. And so if you can showcase all the different communities and all of the different ways that we think and all of the different ways that we talk and all of the different ways that we cover what we want to cover in the way that we want to cover it, is super important to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely love that. And now, Jason Lee, I think one of the things I admire about you is that you are 100% authentically yourself. And I think that's just amazing and inspiring to watch. But based on your show and who you had on so far and the way they speak about you, you obviously have like worked on these friendships that you have. You can tell that people actually love you. And when you call them, they're going to show up and come on. So how did you build those relationships? What is that like for you, just seeing those guys come on your show and just speak so highly of you?
Well, I'll lead with the positive and then I'll tell you the truth, right? Yeah, there's a lot of relationships that I do have that I lean on to show up. I think, my hat off to Cardi B, who understood the assignment for what I was trying to accomplish. She had nothing to promote. She had no reason to pull up. She was even encouraged not to do the show by some people or by a person on her team. And she still showed up because she understood the importance of community, culture, supporting Black-owned media, and also being a friend. But there's been people I've called that have not showed up yet. And I understand that people are in their processes, and I don't take it all the way personal all the time, because I know that some people, maybe they are going through something personally. Maybe their album isn't ready yet and they want to line up their interests to make sure it pairs with mine. So I try not to take that stuff personal. I'll tell you a funny story though. Yesterday, Tekashi 6ix9ine has been texting me. He wants to come on the show. He wants to come on the show. He wants to come on the show. And anytime my team posts something crazy about him, here comes Tekashi 6ix9ine with a text and a whole explanation that he got from Jesus about why it shouldn't be that way. And then we try to fix it for him. And we try to be fair, even though, the culture don't really, support Tekashi 6ix9ine. So yesterday I text Whack 100. I said, listen, if he continues to play around, we won't cover him at all anymore unless he dies. Let me know if he's coming on the show. Whack screenshot the text and put us in a group text and send it to him. Listen, I'm transparent. What you see is what you get. Yeah, I don't want to cover Tekashi 6ix9ine dying, but the culture is not for sale. The culture is not for lease, and you can't use the culture when you want to fix your narrative. And if you have something to say, don't text me. Pull up to the Jason Lee Show and have a conversation. I think, as Detavio said, our Black stars, and I'll say this, they're there when they're on their way up, and then somewhere they get a team or somebody that says, okay, to really make it, you got to seek white validation, and they only come back 8 times out of 10 when they're on the way down.
And you need to be safe.
I'm sorry, once you leave and you say, white fame or seeking validation from mainstream is your goal, go over there then. And when you come back, when you fall, I don't know what to tell you, because there's so many people like Chloe Bailey who need us, or Halle, her sister Halle, who are on their rise, who are getting attacked from mainstream for their accomplishments as Black women, that we need to be uplifting and spending our inventory supporting.
Absolutely, that's so important, and people need to hear that. Now, who can we look forward to? Who do you want on the show to come up next? I know you said Caresha's coming on soon, but who else would you like to sit and talk with on your show?
I've spent a year building a relationship with the White House, building a relationship with Kamala. We've had private conversations, private meetings. We linked up to talk about how we support each other as Black people, not just as the Black vice president or Black media. And, she was scheduled to come on the show. And then, of course, something happened and she needed to go to Africa. And we've still been in contact about her coming on. I would love to see her, but I would love to see a conversation that's specific to the issues of Black people. Because the one thing I know for sure is that in a year and a half, they're going to be right here banging our doors down about run this broadcast, post this on your site, can you share this on social, can we do this and that, because they want the Black vote. But as I explained to the vice president and the president's team, Black leaders in media need to be a part of the fabric of what you're doing, not as an attachment to whatever your strategy is when you want to get to Black people. And, of course, that, we want the Will Smiths and the Violas to pull up. We want the Michelle Obamas. What Revolt did with Michelle Obama and Angie Martinez and Winnie Harlow and her and Kelly Rowland. I've talked to all those women except for Michelle Obama, because only Detavio can find her, about how impactful that was. And the fact that the first lady, who was forever first lady to all of us, gave them all her cell phone number and stays in touch with them is insane. And it's the power of relationship building. And that was fostered by Revolt. So we have to, Detavio is not going to go out there and tell you that, but I want to make sure we're all giving each other our flowers, because that's a huge accomplishment, to be able to create energy like that. And I watched that interview, and it was a very powerful conversation with a bunch of women, Miss Tina, who come from different walks of life, but intersected on things that matter to Black women and to the Black community. So that was great.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of that, Detavio, I know you spoke about wanting Revolt to be like the Black Disney, right? But you guys have done so much already. What can we look forward to coming from Revolt? What else do you have in your brain stirring that we can kind of look forward to in the direction that Revolt is going in now?
Yeah, man, the way that I would say it is we haven't even gotten started yet. You know what I mean? Like, again, when you talk about like we don't right now have the capital to fund the dreams that we have, which is why I speak about the dream every single chance I get, because we are going to manifest it. We are going to get there by hook or crook. But I think the way for you to think about it is the way that Disney got its start was through animated characters and cartoons. So Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and those things were the things that break through culture. So when you look at the Revolt platform, you see someone like a Caresha Please and a Jason Lee and the Drink Champs. Those are kind of like the tip of the spear that are allowing us to break through culture because of the impact that they have and the work that they're doing. But then as Disney continued to grow and like pull back, you start to see Marvel. Now they're doing superheroes. Then you see Pixar. Now you into like cartoons and animation and storytelling. You see things like ESPN, ABC News. And so Revolt is starting to do that, right? So we've got our own, in a great partnership with the Crew League, which is the beginning of Revolt Sports. We've got Revolt Black Black news led by an incredible woman, Monique Chanot, and her team out here in Atlanta. And so you're starting to see us pull back on getting into some of these other spaces and categories that historically Black media has never been allowed to play in. Storytelling is impactful from the time where is the Black Nickelodeon, right? And so the dreams that we have are incredible. And so like it's so I'm always so grateful that people appreciate the platform that we have and the platform that we have that's been built up until this point. But without question, the dream is a billion times larger. You know, you want to give someone like a Jason Lee the opportunity, not just to have his own Jason Lee show, but how do you take that show on the road together? How do you, you know, he's talking about him and Caresha connecting. How do you connect across not one show, but 10, 15 other shows? We just want this world where Black creators can be nurtured across every single stage of their life cycle. And we're far away from that dream, but without question, we're going to get it. And, you know, again, with great partners like Jason Lee, I have no doubt that the future for all of us is bright.
And it's important that Black creatives and Black celebrities and can you hear me?
Yep,
yes.
You're good now.
All right, somebody was trying to log me into another thing. It's important that Black celebrities and Black creatives understand our role in making sure that that happens with how we spend our money. You know, the brands that can invest, and I don't want to say sponsor or support, I'll say invest in these dreams that can seed money to allow them to flourish and allow their brands to integrate in an organic way where our community says, you know what, we see you supporting us, we see you, and we want to support you because you support us. I think is really important because all of this comes with a cost, and the cost is real. And I think oftentimes when I see a lot of Black dreams or Black ideas or Black creative die, it's because people that have the ability to invest in those dreams choose to not show up. And I think that there's a relationship that we have with that is twofold. Yes, one that has the dream that wants it to be seeded, but also us that continue to support brands that just publicly show us they don't believe in them enough to support them. And so we have to call it out. And, you know, I laugh sometimes because there's things that I want, and sometimes there's pathways with less resistance to get there. But sometimes I choose to be a militant because, you know, somebody got to call it out. And as long as my partners can come in as the good guy and get the money, I'm fine with that, you know, because, you know, I loved, you know, the Revolt Summit and what they've created for creatives to come and hear conversations or have access that they normally wouldn't have. I love participating in that, but, you know, brands have to continue to support those platforms so those dreams can come alive.
And not just brands, but like our people, our community. You know, at the end of the day, you know, for me, it's kind of two goals that we need our people to do. One, which Jason said, which is support the brands that are supporting us. When you see somebody show up and reinvest in the Jason Lee show, support that brand, give them your money. The other one is when it comes to media, you know, vote with your eyeballs, vote with your clicks and with your shares. Go to Hollywood Unlocked, go to BallerAlert, like the last 50 things, share 20 of those things, right? Help them build audience and build scale. Go to your television, whether you're on Roku, Vizio, LG, Apple, turn on Revolt. Just let the bad boy run. You know what I mean? But like we too have, again, a responsibility in uplifting each other so that we can ultimately get to the position that we all want to be in.
Yeah, I don't think Black people know if we all come together, man. The culture come together and support each other. It just made me think about even with sports. You imagine if all the good Black athletes went to a HBCU, like what type of change could come from that? But I don't think we think about that, man. So it's good just to sit down and speak to you guys about this. People need to hear this. And Jason Lee, I just want to say it was an honor to listen to you, everyone on the Breakfast Club. I loved you on there. It's always good just to chop it up with you guys and just hear what you guys have to say. You guys are pouring into the younger journalists, the younger entrepreneurs, and we know we appreciate you guys so much. We are so proud of you guys up here at BallerAlert, and I hope you guys can sit down and talk again soon.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. You're the first interview Jason Lee and I have done together, so thank you for giving us that opportunity. Love the work that you guys are doing at BallerAlert. Appreciate the conversation.
On a
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And thank you for the comments about the Breakfast Club, because I keep telling Charlamagne and Envy, they don't have to act gay every morning. I can come and play that real well. I'm here for them.
Listen, you guys work well together. Well, you guys, until next time, take care, man. Congrats on everything.